They thought they framed just another black man. Turns out he was CIA. And now the truth is about to destroy them. The road is quiet, nothing but the soft hum of passing cars. It's late, too late for most people to be out unless they have somewhere important to be. On a dimly lit stretch of highway in Memphis, Tennessee, a black man in his late 30s drives a sleek black SUV, hands steady on the wheel, eyes sharp. He's been here before, stopped at night, questioned, scrutinized. It's nothing new, he tells himself to stay calm, but this time something feels different. Then flashing lights. A police cruiser pulls up behind him. The siren wails once, just enough to send a message. He glances in the rearview mirror, exhales. He signals, slows down, and eases onto the shoulder. Everything by the book. Inside the cruiser, officers Daniels and Harris exchange a look. He fits the description, Harris mutters, already reaching for his radio. Daniels smirks. Doesn't matter. Let's see what we find. They step out, moving slow, deliberate. One taps the flashlight against his palm before aiming it straight at the driver's window. The man inside doesn't flinch. He rolls down the window, keeping both hands on the wheel. Evening, officers. What's the problem? Daniels leans in. License and registration. His tone is flat, but his eyes say something else, like he's already made up his mind. The man reaches for his glove compartment. Mind if I... Slowly, Harris interrupts, hand resting on his holster. The SUV's interior light flicks on as the man pulls out his documents. He hands them over without a word. Daniels studies the license. Where you headed this late? The man keeps his voice even. Home. Harris shines the light across the passenger seat, then the back seat. Driving kind of fast back there. That's a lie. He was driving exactly the speed limit. He knows it. They know it. The man doesn't argue. He just watches, listens, waits. Daniels takes a step back, clicking his tongue. Mind stepping out of the vehicle? Now the man finally reacts, just the slightest shift of his eyes. Is there a reason for that? Harris's hand tightens on his holster. You resisting? The man sighs. He's been here before, but he has no idea just how bad this is about to get. But something is off. They're not just looking for a reason to write a ticket. They're looking for something more. The night air is thick, the kind that clings to your skin and makes you restless. The man steps out of the SUV, slow, deliberate, hands visible, shoulders squared. He's been in worse situations, he tells himself. Breathe. Officer Daniels walks around him like a predator sizing up prey. Harris stays by the open driver's door, eyes scanning the interior, searching. You got anything illegal in the car? Daniels asks, voice laced with artificial politeness. No, the man replies, calm but firm. You sure? I'm sure. Harris chuckles under his breath. Mind if we take a look? And there it is. The man knows the game. Say no and they'll make something up. Say yes and they'll find something that wasn't there before. I don't consent to searches, he says evenly. Daniels clicks his tongue. See, that's interesting, because we got probable cause. Harris leans into the car, reaching under the driver's seat. His body blocks the view. But the man doesn't miss the slight jerk of his arm, the way his elbow moves like he's tucking something into place. Then Harris pulls back, holding a small bag of white powder between his fingers. His face lights up like he just won a prize. Well, what do we have here? As the car pulls away, the man watches the city pass by, neon lights flickering against the glass. He could break their entire operation with one phone call, but he won't. Not yet. He needs to see just how deep this goes. And that starts with playing the role they expect him to. At the station, the process moves fast. Fingerprints, mugshot, the whole routine. Full name? The officer at the desk asks, barely looking at him. He considers lying, giving them a name that means nothing. But then he remembers who he's up against. If they run his real name, alarms will go off in places these cops don't even know exist. So he says nothing. The officer sighs, turns to Daniels. No ID. Daniels shrugs. Guy refused to give us anything. It's a lie. A lazy one. But in a system built to believe them over men like him, it doesn't matter. He's tossed into a holding cell, the heavy door clanking shut behind him. Around him, other men sit slumped against the walls, staring at the floor. Some look like they've been here for hours, others days. One of them, a younger guy with tired eyes, glances at him. what they get you for. He exhales slowly. Doesn't matter, because in the morning this entire station will have its world turned upside down. But tonight they sleep easy because they have no idea what's coming. The courtroom is packed, reporters fill the benches, cameras flashing, microphones poised. A case like this doesn't usually make headlines. Not when it's just another so-called drug bust. But something about this one. It caught fire. The prosecution stands confident. The district attorney, a man who's built his career on tough sentencing, smirks as he straightens his tie. He thinks this is already in the bag. The accused sits at the defense table, wrists free now, but his body just as still, just as controlled. He's been waiting for this. Daniels and Harris sit a few rows back, arms folded, their eyes sharp but relaxed, like men who believe they have nothing to worry about. The judge enters. The jury takes their seats. Then the trial begins. The prosecution wastes no time. They paint a picture, one that's been rehearsed 1,000 times before. This is a case about law and order, the DA says, his voice even, authoritative. These officers did their job. They took an illegal substance off the streets. And now the defendant. He gestures toward the accused like he's pointing out something rotten, wants you to believe he's the victim. The jury listens, nodding along. A few of them glance at the accused, their expressions unreadable. Then comes the so-called evidence. The bag of powder, the officers' reports, practically identical, as if they were copied from the same template. Body cam footage? Unfortunately unavailable due to a technical malfunction. A murmur ripples through the crowd, but it doesn't last long. The DA presses on. He lays it all out. The arrest, the findings, the man's refusal to give his name at the station. He thinks he's sealing the deal. Then the defense stands, a tall, composed attorney, one the prosecution never expected to see on a case like this. She doesn't rush. She doesn't argue. She lets the room settle. Then she looks the jury in the eyes and asks one question. Do you believe in coincidences? A beat of silence. The DA frowns. She turns, gestures toward the officers. Because these men, they'd really like you to. She smiles, but there's no warmth in it. The courtroom stiffens. Something is about to shift. But what happens next? No one in this room is ready for it. The tension in the room thickens. The defense attorney doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. She has something stronger than words. Proof. She steps to the table, picks up a folder, and slowly flips it open. The jury watches her every move. You heard the prosecution's version of events, she says. Now let's talk about facts. She turns to the judge. Your Honor, we have new evidence that directly contradicts the officer's statements. Evidence that was obtained lawfully and is relevant to this case. The judge, an older man with sharp eyes, leans forward. Proceed. The attorney nods, then looks directly at the prosecution. The defense would like to enter into evidence a series of classified documents, recently declassified by order of the Central Intelligence Agency. A ripple goes through the courtroom. The DA's face twists with confusion, and for the first time since this trial started, a flicker of uncertainty crosses his face. Daniels and Harris exchange a look. Their relaxed posture shifts, their confidence cracking just a little. The defense attorney continues. These documents confirm the identity of the accused. Not as a criminal, not as a man carrying illegal substances, but as a deep-cover CIA operative working on a highly classified domestic intelligence case. The room goes still. A few gasps, a whisper. What? No way. Even the jury straightens in their seats. The judge eyes the folder. Are you telling me the defendant is a federal agent? Yes, Your Honor, she replies. And the so-called evidence found in his vehicle. She turns, looks at the officers. It was never there to begin with. Mike keeps going. I was investigating a string of wrongful arrests tied to these two officers. More gasps. He turns, looks directly at Daniels and Harris. You were already under federal surveillance? Mike states, you just didn't know it. Daniels clenches his fists. Harris shifts uncomfortably. The defense attorney steps forward. Your Honor, we have another piece of evidence to submit. She gestures to the side of the courtroom. The doors swing open, and in walks a federal agent, a laptop in hand. He strides forward, setting the laptop on the evidence table. With a few clicks, he pulls up a video. The screen lights up. The courtroom watches. It's the body cam footage, the same footage that supposedly malfunctioned. And it plays everything. The traffic stop, the search, The moment Harris reached under the seat and planted the bag. The room erupts again. Reporters rush to write down what they're seeing. The DA's face twists in shock. Daniels lunges forward. "That's fake! Sit down, officer!" The judge snaps, his voice cold, sharp, final. Harris sinks into his seat, his face pale. The jury, they don't need any more convincing. But the trial isn't over yet, because now it's time for consequences. The courtroom is in chaos. The jury whispers among themselves. The prosecution looks like a sinking ship. And the two officers, they know it's over. The judge straightens. "Bailiff, take officers Daniels and Harris into custody, pending further investigation." Daniels jolts to his feet. "This is a setup!" His voice cracks with desperation. The bailiff grips his arm. "Let's go!" Harris doesn't even resist. His face is blank, hollow. He knows there's no way out. The jury watches them being led away, cuffed the same way they've led others. Mike doesn't move, doesn't smirk, doesn't gloat. He just watches.